A gruesome incident inside a Toronto massage parlor. A woman stabbed to death over the lunch hour, 2 others seriously injured.
She was a mother of a young child. She was just a very caring, warm person.
The one girl who was killed and the other one who was hurt, had you ever met them before that day? No. So you had nothing against them personally? No.
He said that he went to the spa to kill these women.
The Incel group. Is that a group you've been associated with for a while?
You don't choose to become an Incel, you just are born one.
He made some utterances that he came to kill and that he wished he would have gotten more.
More women.
More women.
It was an unanswerable, undefendable case.
Welcome to Crime Beat. I'm Anthony Robart. In early 2020, a group of women working at an erotic massage parlor in Toronto were confronted with a horrifying attack. An attack that didn't just devastate lives. It forever changed how Canadian courts view an online hate group known for its extreme misogyny. Here now is Karen Lieberman and the Incel murder.
The call came in at just after 1:15 in the afternoon, advising me of a homicide at the Crown Spa. It's in the area of Wilson and Dufferin, which is a mixed residential commercial area. There's a Yorkdale Mall, it's just south of there, and it's near the Downsview Air Force Base. I knew it was a massage parlor. There was a machete involved, and there was some sharp force injuries inflicted on the victim. I was advised that there was one person that was deceased, another person who was injured, and then I'm making my way over to the scene.
The scene itself, what did it look like?
It was a bloody scene. The deceased was still there. She was butchered, basically. It was confined to the front of the premises.
What did we know about this victim?
She was working at the spa. She was the receptionist. There was an attack, an immediate attack. I can't say that was an altercation because she had no chance to defend herself. I was provided with video. The owner of the spa had video installed, internal video, and it captured everything.
So he takes the time to knock on the door. She goes thinking it's going to be a potential customer and almost immediately explodes into this horrific attack.
It showed me the offender walking through the front door, approaching the victim, and then immediately brandishing the sword, engaging in a vicious, sustained attack with the sword. There was a person who heard the screams from downstairs. She went to investigate that and found this man armed with the sword.
She obviously heard everything that was going on and trying to understand what it was. She was very heroic.
She realized that her friend, her co-worker, was dead, and she feared for her life. She was confronted by the offender, who then chased her towards the front door. He caught her in that vestibule and attacked her. He made a number of utterances like he was going to kill her, and he called her a and a whore and die.
She was able to defend herself courageously. She was able to get the weapon from him and injure him, not fatally, but sufficiently, and continued to escape out the front door, saving her life and, frankly, saving the lives of others.
The video didn't capture that attack. There was frosted glass, but you could see limbs striking the glass and smears of blood. She was hurt.
And then it spilled out onto the street.
It spilled out onto the street where the offender landed on the ground, and the surviving victim then sought assistance from the public and basically looked for help. There was a number of other witnesses that were in the area as well that called 911. There's a City of Toronto worker that was doing a patrol of the area, and he drove past the spa and saw our surviving victim bloodied, asking for help. So he called 911 and got her to stand beside his truck. The mailman pulled into the plaza and saw the offender lying on the ground looking at him. So he backed out and he called 911. And the third person, I believe he was also worked for the city, but he wasn't on duty at the time.
I saw a young woman. She was sitting on the side. They were bandaging her hands in some white gauze. She had her shirt was ripped and hanging and covered in blood, and she was covered in blood.
A witness describes a disturbing scene in Downsview over the noon hour, a triple stabbing at an adult massage parlor. Toronto police were called to the Crown Spa, but before they went inside, they found 2 people badly hurt lying on the ground. Elizabeth DiGregorio saw it all unfold from across the street at work.
I saw her just sitting beside the mini mart, and they were bandaging her hands. She had no shoes on, just in leggings, and she had blood on her, and you could see blood coming off of her sleeve. Maybe it was ripped or something.
You'd heard that it was a machete that was used. What was this weapon?
It was a sword. I believe it's called the Gladius sword. Almost looks like one of those swords from the movie 300. You don't usually see people using a sword as a murder weapon in the city.
But the amount of damage that you can do with that must be extreme.
Yeah. The victim was severely injured by the sword.
There was another man laying on the ground in front of the store. Then tactical police came with all their guns and tried booting in the door, and then they got in the door.
Police say the attack happened inside the business, and when officers finally made their way in, they found another woman in her 20s with obvious injuries.
Paramedics arrived on scene to assess that female, and unfortunately that female, her injuries were so serious that she was actually pronounced here at the scene. So this is now a homicide investigation.
I detailed the primary investigator to do the notification of the deceased's family. And the person responsible was also injured. The surviving, reluctant to call her a victim, she's a survivor. She disarmed him and she stabbed him in the back.
It's brave.
Yes.
Yeah.
There were some plainclothes officers in the area that were on other duties. They were able to respond almost immediately and take the person into custody and clear the spa, allowing for emergency personnel to conduct assessments and provide first aid.
What was the extent of his injuries?
He had a cut to his hand, which required stitches, and a stab wound to his back, which required some staples to close.
And was the sword found beside him?
Yes. It was an unusual case because typically you don't have offenders of that age commit such a violent attack. There didn't seem to be a motive.
A teenager?
Yeah. And it wasn't until I was in the forensic identification vehicle and they were searching his clothes that the note came to light, and it struck me that this is something different.
Welcome back. It was February 2020 when a teenager wielding a sword showed up at a massage parlor in Toronto, killing the receptionist and attacking another female employee. And what investigators would learn about his motives would make the attack all the more terrifying. We now return to Karen Lieberman with the Incel murder.
The scene was secured by police. Our forensic identification officers were busy processing the scene.
A gruesome incident inside a Toronto massage parlor. A woman stabbed to death over the lunch hour, 2 others seriously injured. Global's Karen Lieberman has the latest from the scene in the Dufferin and Wilson area. Karen.
Alan, a woman in her 20s is dead. Another woman suffered lacerations to her hands, and a teenage male was rushed to hospital in life-threatening condition. He is in surgery, and police say they are not looking for any suspects at this time. Now, the triple stabbing is said to have happened inside the Crown Spa, but 2 of the injured, the teen and older woman, were found outside.
This coffee shop owner just a block away says the employees of Crown Spa often stop by. He was saddened to hear of the attack.
They're very, very pleasant girls, and actually they're super nice.
And so when you heard that this happened, what were your thoughts?
It's shocking for us to see our neighbors, friends get stabbed like that.
She was a mother of a young child. She supported herself by working at the spa. She was just a very caring, warm person.
Who just happened to pick up a shift that day?
Yeah. She was covering for someone, or she came in early for someone.
The murder victim would be identified as 24-year-old Ashley Noelle Arzaga, described by family as a loving mother, daughter, sister, cousin, and friend. An outgoing, positive, kind, loving, and genuinely good young woman with a contagious smile and laugh. Ashley wasn't scheduled to be there that morning. She got called in to cover the front desk because an employee had a dentist appointment and the new receptionist failed to show up. Ashley answered the call and arrived at the Crown Spa around noon. Just after 12:30 p.m., she'd open the door and greet a man dressed in black.
It was a larger scene that required a substantial amount of forensic examination. There was some blood evidence behind the spa. There was blood evidence going across the street towards a convenience store on Anthony. There was the scene where he was located on the ground in front of the spa.
A key piece of evidence, the murder weapon, used to inflict an incredible amount of violence and horrific injuries.
The pathology report says 42 incised or stab wounds, and then there's blunt force injuries. At least 42 sharp force injuries were present: chest wall, lungs, abdomen, liver, brachial arteries, vein. There was multiple defensive injuries on the arms and legs, and there was blunt force injury observed on the back of the head and neck from hitting the furniture while collapsing backwards.
Defensive injuries, meaning she fought back?
Yeah, or she held her arms up as she was being attacked. That's a natural human reaction, right?
There was something else about the murder weapon that jumped out to investigators.
The sword had an inscription on it: Thought Slayer.
Thought Slayer. Its meaning unclear until police would learn more about the suspect and his motivation.
He was dressed in dark clothing, in a long 3/4 length jacket, sunglasses. He certainly didn't look 17 years old. He looked older than that. He was a stocky person. When he was arrested, he was treated by the paramedics, and they cut off his jacket. His jacket was left at the scene, and he was transported. As they processed the scene, they searched the jacket, and that's when the note came to light.
And what did the note say?
Long live the Incel rebellion.
It was a handwritten note.
It was a handwritten note on a scrap piece of paper. It was in a plastic Ziploc bag along with his driver's license and that whetstone. It's a stone that you'd use to sharpen a blade.
Presumably for the sword.
Yes.
Before arriving at the crime scene, Detective Henri Marsman had made a stop.
I went to the accused person's residence to inform their parents that their son was in hospital, and I also seized the residence for a search warrant. The residence was, I would say, maybe a kilometer and a bit from the spa. It was within walking distance. It is a difficult conversation to have with someone saying, your son's being stabbed and he's under arrest for murder. It shocked his father. And then to be told, you have to leave your house, gather your belongings, because now we're going to execute a search warrant on it.
Investigators began to learn more about this young man.
I knew that he wasn't attending school, he wasn't working, he was living with his father and his stepmother and step-siblings, and that he played video games. When we executed the search warrant, we seized his laptop. From speaking with the parents, I knew that he didn't have a cell phone. He only used that one laptop in the house. I was looking for evidence of pre-planning or motive. We had this note in hand. Obviously, we had to wait till he was treated in hospital and released to a detention facility, which took a few weeks. I also wanted to get more information from the computer so we'd have some questions to ask him.
The date today is Wednesday, April 1st, in the year 2020. The time now is 11:33 a.m. I'm currently in an interview room at the Oregon Mercury Youth Detention Center. Also in the room with me at this time are my partner, Detective Henri Marsman, and we are speaking to a youth who's an inmate at this facility. Sir, could you state and spell your name, please?
My name is Oguzhan Sert.
The suspect was underage at the time of his arrest, just months shy of his 18th birthday, and his identity under a publication ban. But for reasons that will soon become apparent, we are now able to identify him.
Oguzhan, you understand we're police officers?
Yes.
Okay. Would it be okay if I called you Oguzhan during the course of this interview?
Yes.
Okay. You look a lot older than 17. That's the first thing that strikes me.
Under the Youth Criminal Justice Act, a young person is under no obligation to make a statement.
Do you want to give a statement?
No.
And then he's asked about his injuries.
I don't think I will be able to hold stuff properly or make a fist with my left hand ever again.
And from what I understand, your other injuries are kind of around.
And then he goes on and tells us about the whole incident.
The one girl who was killed and the other one who was hurt, had you ever met them before that day?
No.
So you had nothing against them personally?
He didn't really say why that specific location. It's within walking distance to his house. His father was a painter, and he would go and work with his father, pick up supplies. There's a Benjamin Moore paint store right in the same plaza as the Crown Spa. If he would have gone to pick up supplies, he would have seen the geographic location of where the spa is.
Did you know what you were going to do when you left the house?
I was planning. I don't know.
Okay.
The first sort of instance of video surveillance that has him walking like an average pedestrian on Dufferin, heading towards the Yorkdale to find the parlor where this occurred. There's no audio to accompany the video, and if you watch all of the surveillance, it's quite chilling. It's got obviously a horrific climax, but as you see the start of the day, you see somebody dressed in a trench coat, looking like they're trying to be out of the Matrix, walking passively, but when you know what happens when you're watching it, it's disturbing. It's disturbing to see what he's doing and where he's going, and what kind of mindset would he have at the time as he's walking with the goal of taking as many lives as he can come across. It's one of the starkest and most difficult pieces of evidence I've ever had to witness, and I've seen a lot. It's not like CSI and it's not like TV, and it's a chilling demonstration of just how far afield his mental state was compared to the average person.
Welcome back to Crime Beat. A teenager has been arrested for the murder of 24-year-old Ashley Noelle Arzaga and the attempted murder of a second woman. His motive was deeply rooted in the Incel movement, known for its extreme misogynistic ideology. But in the eyes of the law, can this be labeled as terrorism? Here now is Karen Lieberman with the Incel murder.
Any significance to the weapon you used? Because it's a pretty unusual weapon, the sword.
Yes, the sword. The sword, I don't know. That was just the weapon available because I ordered it on Amazon.
Okay.
He had purchased a sword. He'd had it engraved, which spoke to the degree of planning.
The sword was 17 inches long.
Did you order it for this purpose?
I originally bought it because I thought it looked cool, and then I used it for this.
Okay. Do you remember what you inscribed on the blade?
Yes.
What did you inscribe?
It was inscribed Thought Slayer.
Oh, thoughts. Okay, and what does that mean?
A thought is it's like another word for a girl. It isn't like super bad, but it's not super nice as well. It's kind of like another way of saying the word slut or something like that.
Thought slayer,
Yeah.
which in Incel terminology could mean that hoe over there.
I've been spending a lot of time on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
I did look into the alt-right. Have you heard of that?
I have, and I have an idea of what that means. To me, that's kind of a political movement.
Yes.
What does it mean to you?
It's a political movement.
Okay.
It's a right wing.
There was also searches on his computer for that spa. He searched a site called Men Go Their Own Way, which is a Incel site.
Would he chat back and forth with these members of Incel?
It was hard to track his chats. A lot of what was found on the computer is that he used incognito mode, and he had like ciphers on there that he would regularly delete his search history or his chat history. He also played a lot of online games. He used Discord, and any chats that would have been captured on there, we couldn't obtain.
But you got a lot.
We got a lot.
Including his account on Steam, an online gaming platform. His profile picture, a medieval warrior of Middle Eastern descent riding a black horse and carrying a sword, and the caption beneath it,
Proud incel, truth seeker, jihadi, and currently on FBI watch list. Seeker of martyrdom, hates feminists, atheists, Satanists, and all kinds of other degenerates. Death to the synagogue of Satan who truly rules this world.
And do you follow a particular faith?
Well, in my head, I'm Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
But do I pray every day? Do I do those kind of things? No.
He also searched the Hamas al-Qassam Brigade, the military wing of the Palestinian Hamas organization. There were some other searches that conceivably could be viewed as anti-Semitic or glorification of the Nazi movement.
The Incel group. Is that a group you've been associated with for a while?
The Incel, the thing is, anyone can, you don't choose to become an Incel, you just are born one.
He was committed to this movement.
Absolutely. With the Incel movement, there was extensive involvement in websites that described it, chat groups that had his participation, claims that he was going to engage in this type of activity.
To police, he told a slightly different story in terms of his involvement.
I haven't really been talking too much with this community. I don't have many friends. Even on the internet, I do not have friends. So I do not talk to them very much.
Why don't you think you have any friends?
I excommunicated them.
Oguzhan Sert told investigators if you don't have friends, quote, it's impossible for people to betray you, but that it is lonely, and that he's the type of person who could sit at the computer all day.
The Incel group is not political.
What would you define it as?
It's more of a social outcast.
Is that how you see yourself?
Yes.
What was he like in the interview?
He seemed pretty straightforward. I mean, he answered the questions. He understood exactly what we were asking. He shied away from things he didn't want to tell us, but otherwise he seemed pretty open.
And calm.
And calm.
Even when he acknowledged he did not expect to survive the attack.
When I was lying down on the floor, the police officer was pointing the pistol at me, and I told him, "Officer, just shoot."
He was arrested and charged initially by us for first-degree murder and attempted murder. He said he thought he was going to be killed by police. It kind of circles back to the fact that he had his note and his ID and the whetstone in a Ziploc bag. He wanted someone to find it. He was there to make a statement.
If you were found guilty, you could receive an adult sentence. The most severe adult sentence is life in prison. Do you understand that?
Yes.
It would be soon after this police interview that longtime criminal defense lawyer Monty McGregor was hired to represent Oguzhan Sert.
Initially, what happens is you look at the information from the police to try and assess the strength of the case. Very early on, it was clear that it was a relatively overwhelming first-degree murder case, also potentially as a terrorism case.
In Canada, Section 83.01 of the Criminal Code defines terrorism as an act committed in whole or in part for a political, religious, and ideological purpose, objective, or cause, with the intention of intimidating the public.
For the first time in Canada, terrorism charges have been laid against someone who allegedly carried out an attack motivated by misogynist ideology.
Terrorism charges in Canada have traditionally been reserved for Islamist extremists, inspired by groups such as Al-Qaeda and the so-called Islamic State.
The Canadian government is taking, right-wing extremism, but particularly misogynistic violence very, very seriously and elevating it to the level of terrorism. This charge is really huge news for Canada and internationally.
Why did this case fit the criteria?
At the time, we believed that Incel was an ideology, that this act of violence was committed for an ideological purpose, intended to intimidate a segment of society, that being women, and that it was used violence to obtain that means. I'm an operations officer at INSET, which is the Integrated National Security Enforcement Team. It's an RCMP-led joint force operation, and our job is to investigate terrorism and any threats to Canada's national security. Toronto Police is part of our joint force operation at INSET. When they had evidence that there was potential connection to the Incel movement and that there was potential terrorism offenses, we became involved.
Why those girls?
I just thought they weren't very clean people.
He picked that spa because he believed they were unclean. He said that he went to the spa to kill these women. He made some utterances to one of the uniform officers that was guarding him that he came to kill and that he wished he would have gotten more
women.
More women.
you remember a couple years ago when there was a van attack in Toronto?
Yes, he was an inspiration. So I thought if he could do that, especially so close in Canada, in Toronto City, I thought it was possible for me to do something like that as well.
Chaos and destruction on the streets of North Toronto. A van plows into a crowd of pedestrians on sidewalks near Yonge and Finch. 1:30 p.m., a white Ryder rental van mounts a sidewalk, gaining speed, striking pedestrians as it barrels southbound.
Everyone is shocked. I stood for a second right here, just wondering what the is going on. And he just went down to the next block and then smashed into one lady. She went flying in the air. Oh my God.
It was a warm, sunny spring afternoon when Alec Manassian arrived on Yonge Street, an area he says he knew would be packed with people, and it was. Alec Manassian drove a rental van through a crowd on one of Toronto's busiest streets in April 2018, killing 10 pedestrians, the majority of them women, and injuring 16. It was the deadliest act of mass murder in the city's history, and Manassian said he was inspired by the misogynistic Incel movement, short for involuntary celibates.
In terms of your feelings towards women in general, how would you describe that?
I would say that sometimes I am a bit upset that they choose to date obnoxious men instead of gentlemen.
What did you know about Incel?
Having been in the office during the time of the Alex Manassian van attack, I was aware of the Incel movement. We had been provided some training and some background on Incels, and I knew that this note indicated that there was my motive.
Did you want the police to find that?
I wanted everyone to find it. I wanted them to know that that's what that's
You say I wanted them to know. Who's them?
The world.
Both Manassian and Sert referenced the Incel rebellion. That's the time at which finally these men will take control again and take their rightful place as part of the alpha male collective. Clearly they're manly men because they had the courage and the bravery to strike out and strike back against the system, but also a warning to women that you need to take me seriously and don't just shun me because these are the consequences.
Criminologist Barbara Perry is the founding director of the Centre on Hate, Bias and Extremism at Ontario Tech University. She's been tracking the Incel movement, which started in Canada.
It began in the 90s, actually, and it was started by a young woman who was having difficulty getting into relationships. What we might think of as a Lonely Hearts Club. There was nothing nefarious about it. It was just sharing experiences, talking about, well, you know, how do we get a guy or a girl? Because it was men and women. She eventually, you know, started to have some success with dating and so moved away from the movement. But many of the followers that remained were young men, and it just really devolved into a much more angry, misogynistic movement.
Elliot Roger. In 2014, the 22-year-old went on a killing spree in California, killing 6 people. He ran down a number of pedestrians before killing himself.
He, I think, is generally recognized as the first incel to really act en masse in very violent ways, obviously. He was responsible for the murder of 6 individuals and injuries for a dozen more when he perpetrated his attack in Isla Vista, California.
In a YouTube video posted before the rampage, Elliot explained his motivation. He wanted to punish women for rejecting him, and that he envied sexually active men and wanted to punish them for being sexually active.
Have you ever heard of Elliot Roger?
Yes, he was a nice person. He was nice to girls. He was being a gentleman towards them, but they rejected it either way. And so that is why he got mad and he did what he did.
Do you feel any kinship towards him?
A little bit, yes.
And so he really became a martyr, and he'd left a manifesto that claimed that the reason that he did what he was going to do was that he hated women, literally hated, detested women, was resentful, again, because he couldn't convince them to have sex with him.
Have you ever had any relationship with a female? Not necessarily as a girlfriend, boyfriend, but just as a friend? Somebody you could hang out with?
No.
Typically, lonely, disenfranchised, feeling they've been left behind. Often isolate themselves in their homes or in their parents' homes, spending a lot of time online.
Unlike most peers his age, Oguzhan Sert wasn't in school. He never attended high school.
I was scared that the work would be too hard and I was gonna get bullied by the other kids.
Had you been bullied before?
I wasn't really bullied, but on some occasions I was disrespected.
Could you just generally say, was it based on appearance or religion or intellect?
I guess it was appearance.
This was somewhat of the perfect storm of an individual. He was living a life in the basement of his father's house, relying on the internet and all of the darkness and evils that can come from the corners of it that are scary. And it allowed him to develop opinions and beliefs that led to this. And he had ended the relationship with his mother.
At what point does it move from being in your basement on your computer and interacting with these people anonymously to wanting to act on that behavior?
There are people in there who are provocateurs, intentionally attempting to deepen the sentiment and exacerbate the anxiety and the fear and the hatred and the hostility. And I think the angrier you get, the more extreme narratives you're looking for as well.
So this will make its way through the courts slowly.
It was an unanswerable, undefendable case.
We'll try to do what's best.
He did have some mental health deficiencies. He was on the autism spectrum. He had, I believe, anxiety disorder and other issues that impacted his ability to rationalize and reason. So from there, the only real available defense in cases of that nature is whether or not somebody's not criminally responsible. But it didn't rise to the level.
It's not easy, I don't know.
Oguzhan Sert pleaded guilty to first-degree murder and attempted murder in the fall of 2022. The Crown would then argue its case for terrorism.
On Tuesday, federal prosecutor Lisa Matthews told the court his incel ideology was meant to send a message to the public that women are not safe. He intended to cause a threat in the world by signposting and looking back to others who have done the same. He sees himself as a foot soldier in the ideology.
I think the terrorism charge is significant because at this time in Canadian jurisprudence, there is not a big body of cases to rely on to define and to determine how terrorism applies. So effectively, it's a root of liability. Now, how did that affect his defense? We did try to counter the terrorism notion.
Defense lawyer Maurice Mattis argued the attack did not constitute terrorism, pointing out that Alec Manassian, the van attack killer, who also professed a connection to the incels, was never charged with terrorism. Walking into a massage parlor and killing one woman and seriously injuring another, that type of act, as serious, as egregious as it is, that type of act does not rise to a terrorism act, but his hate against women can be an aggravating feature at sentencing. The defense told the judge calling this attack terrorism will open a floodgate, the definition too large.
We tried to defend that to try and minimize any sentencing impact in the long run.
Welcome back. 17-year-old Oguzhan Sert was charged with first-degree murder and attempted murder. In a precedent-setting move, those charges were upgraded to include terrorism after investigators learned more about his links to the misogynistic incel movement. But will that be enough to stop others from committing similar acts of violence? Here now is Karen Lieberman with a conclusion of the incel murder.
The judge ruled Oguzhan Sert was guilty on the upgraded charges, finding the attack on Crown Spa was terrorist activity intended to intimidate women, setting a precedent in Canadian law.
It was the first time anything other than ISIS, Islamist-inspired extremism, really had been recognized as terrorism in the Canadian context.
When the emergency medical services arrived, they indicated that he proudly said, well, at least I got one. So even at that time frame, it was a cold, harsh indignation towards his targets and a purposeful attack that is clearly a terrorist act.
I think I went there on a similar day as the day this crime would have occurred. So it was like the middle of a week, the middle of the day. It just feels very quiet and secluded, and not at all like a place where you would expect this magnitude of violence to happen. But I mean, this is also the reality of where these massage parlors tend to be located.
Lana Hall is a journalist who wrote about the Crown Spa attack for Maclean's magazine.
I have been a journalist for about a decade now, but prior to that, I also spent some time working in Toronto's massage parlor industry. And in fact, I worked for a period of time at a massage parlor that's kind of just across the highway from Crown Spa. As soon as the news broke about the prosecution approach that the Crown and the RCMP and the police wanted to take, that they wanted to try and prosecute this as an act of terror in addition to being a murder and attempted murder, and I really wanted people to understand the implications of that, like the implications of what that might mean for how we think of gender-based violence, because we do still have this attitude, you know, sometimes where when we see violence take place in these workplaces that sort of operate on the margins, like massage parlors and strip clubs, that there is still this idea that that level of violence is expected in these places.
On its website, the Crown Spa is described as a licensed massage parlor for erotic massage and exotic massage, female operated and under new management. We spoke with one woman who lives in the neighborhood right behind the Crown Spa. She said there's always a lot of action in the area, and she wasn't surprised to hear police were responding to an incident there.
What used to be called the Mink Spa, but we know what it is.
I know from experience that because these are kind of loosely regulated workplaces, you know, they're a bit of a pressure cooker environment, that sometimes they can feel a little bit like the Wild West. And so there kind of are some safety implications about that, right? I reached out to the surviving witness, who did not agree to talk to me on camera, or in person rather, but we had some talks on the phone.
At the time, Global News had also been in touch with JC, whose identity is under a publication ban.
Set a huge precedent for these damn van attacks for whoever these terrorists to be reprimanded and charged with terrorism.
The 31-year-old victim who survived says she is pleased to learn those allegedly radicalized online by the Incel movement can now be charged with terrorism.
I have full confidence in the team that is working on my investigation or on the investigation, and I know that they want justice for Ashley and myself. She was an amazing mother. She was the brightest character ever.
What I learned through talking to JC is that she was incredibly dedicated. Like, you know, it was not at all unusual for her to work 6 or 7 days a week, to work long hours. She took that job really seriously, and she cared a lot about the people. I think she has a really strong integrity in that sense. Also, just to reiterate, like, JC is the reason this crime potentially wasn't far, far worse. Because she had, you know, the capacity to think quickly in the middle of being attacked, to disarm this guy. You know, who knows what might have happened if that hadn't been the case.
The surviving victim, she stopped the attack. Who knows what he would have done if he was able to continue. So, I mean, she's the hero in this.
We contacted JC while working on this program. She did not wish to participate, but referred us to a portion of her victim impact statement. I am not a victim. I am a survivor. I am not a witness. I was attacked. This should be my heart pouring out into scribbles, and this in turn I've come to realize is supposed to aid those who need a voice of faith, to light the path that darkness has fought so hard to take over.
There is a stigma around the type of women who would want to partake in that kind of work, but really it's these spaces attract all kinds of people, all kinds of women, all races and socioeconomic and educational backgrounds as well. So I thought that that was maybe a hopeful sign that we're taking this kind of violence seriously. And how we look at gender-based violence, especially when it comes from this place of male entitlement and incel ideology. These crimes are not just people like screaming on the internet, that they have real-world implications.
He wrote an apology. Was it authentic? I hope so. Ultimately, the goal was to try and get him a youth sentence, to avail him the opportunity to have a significant amount of rehabilitation.
I'm just scared of what's going to happen to me.
He revoked his consent, effectively saying to me, which I then had to say to the judge, I don't want you to order this. I just want a youth sentence, meaning just put me in jail under a youth sentence term without the treatment. And the reason, my understanding that he'd communicated to me, was he was afraid of being in an institution where he would have to have cellmates because of his own personal fear based on what he'd done.
Can these men be rehabilitated?
Yeah, absolutely. The problem is that people have to want to change. It's like, quitting drinking or smoking or any addiction. And for some, if that's their identity, it can become that difficult to break.
This is the first conviction for first-degree murder that was motivated by the incel ideology. And in this case today, the young man was sentenced as an adult, even though he was only 17 years old at the time. Now, Justice Suhail Akhtar sentenced the man to life in prison with no chance of parole for 10 years for the first-degree murder of Ashley Arzaga, to be served concurrently with a 3-year sentence for the attempted murder of another woman who fought back and survived.
People deserve to be safe in their place of work. It doesn't matter what you do for work. It does not matter if you're a Walmart clerk or a nurse in a hospital or somebody working in a massage parlor. They should not feel that someone is going to walk through the door with a sword and attack them.
What does monitoring Incel look like from your perspective?
From our perspective, it is actively monitoring online forums where incels are known to gather. It's public messaging, making sure that the public is aware of incel indicators and how to report it, and treating incel as a national security matter with high priority.
Relying on the internet for your education, being at home in the basement with nobody loving you and supporting you, not having friends, having mental health issues they influence you enough that they can drive you in a direction where you seize an ideology that's built on hatred and built on misogyny.
I think any parent should be concerned that their children, whether you are 13, 14 or 15, you could be in a chat room, you end up being influenced by some ideology, you go out there, you commit a crime, you are now ruled a terrorist by the court.
Would you say there were red flags?
Absolutely, but the hard part about those red flags is who's seeing them. He's not at school. He's not going out very often. He's not in a workplace. He's not in a scenario where he can actually interact with a woman and demonstrate any concern. And that's the problem here, is that to say that anybody missed it, I think would be a really improper application of responsibility. You may say as parents, but there's nothing to say that he's going to explode with violence, because he had no prior criminal record or interactions, nothing that would make you think he's going to be violent.
His mother, he became increasingly distant from her and didn't want to spend any time with her. He'd also ordered other knives, which his stepmother took away from him.
I think they tried to get him assistance initially for mental health issues, and that's why I'm sure that when they were alerted to what had occurred, it was a shock to them.
I think it's incumbent on family. I think it's incumbent on our educational system and our schools, and people who run across these people, that we need to nip this in the bud before it gets to the stage that people get hurt. There's a little girl without her mother. There's parents without their daughter. It's very impactful.
Ashley Noelle Arzaga's sister shared with us the eulogy she gave at the funeral, and this message. Ashley was always bright, colorful, creative, and lived life to the fullest. Her personality was too big for this world to contain. Tell people you love them more times than you think they should hear it, even if they already know. I never got to tell Ashley just how important she was to me, although I know in my heart she felt it. Learn to appreciate the good times, because you never know when they will be your last good memories of someone.
Since the Crown Spa attack, Canada has taken a hardened approach to incels. A day after the terror charge was laid, a report was released by the Canadian Security Intelligence Service specifically naming incels as an example of violent misogyny. Thank you for joining us tonight on Crime Beat. I'm Anthony Robart.
Want more episodes of Crime Beat? Listen to the Crime Beat podcast now for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you find your favorite podcast. And for past episodes of Crime Beat, go to the Global TV app, visit globaltv.com, or check out our Crime Beat YouTube page.